Every year, my family forgot my birthday while throwing lavish parties for my brother. This time I bought myself a beach house. My family forgot my birthday for the 25th year in a row. But this time, while they were drinking champagne under gold balloons for my brother across town, I was sitting alone in my condo with a lemon cupcake, one candle, and a $96,000 bonus email glowing on my laptop screen. By midnight, I had made one decision. If they would not celebrate the day I was born, I would. And I would do it so loudly they would never be able to pretend they forgot again. 3 weeks later, I bought myself a beach house on the coast of Maine. Then I posted one photo. Just the cottage, the ocean, and 5 words. Birthday gift. To myself. My father showed up at my office the next morning demanding to know who I thought I was. My mother called me cruel. My brother said I was embarrassing the family. But the truth was worse than anything they accused me of. Because after 34 years of being the daughter they remembered only when they needed money favors or silence, I finally brought receipts. Not emotional ones, actual receipts. Photos, texts, bank records, birthday cards, empty albums, printed screenshots, a spreadsheet with 30 years of favoritism in 2 columns. 1 column for Patrick, 1 column for me. And when I laid those binders across my parents' dining room table, the entire Donovan family went silent for the first time in my life. But I am getting ahead of myself. My name is Claire Donovan. I was 34 years old the night everything changed. At 9:47 p.m. on September 14th, I walked out of Whitmore and Vale Engineering in downtown Boston with rain in my hair and 13 hours of work carved into my bones. The lobby was almost empty. My heels clicked against the polished stone floor, echoing under the high glass ceiling. The security guard looked up from his crossword puzzle and gave me the tired little smile he reserved for people who had stayed later than was healthy. Long one. Ms. Donovan. Productive one, I said. That was true. That morning I had walked into a conference room full of executives from Northbridge Medical who were ready to cancel a $42 million hospital expansion because of structural complications, budget panic, and one consultant who had apparently learned engineering from inspirational posters. By evening, I had saved the project. My revised plan cut 6 weeks from the construction delay, preserved the surgical wing expansion, and kept Northbridge from walking away from our firm. My boss, Malcolm Vale, had gripped my shoulder after the meeting and said, "Claire, you just saved the biggest account we have." People applauded. Engineers do not applaud unless something is either on fire or unexpectedly under budget. So yes, it had been a productive day. It had also been my birthday. I checked my phone as I stepped under the awning outside the building. No missed calls. No texts. No voicemail from my mother singing off-key like she used to when I was little, and still believed mothers remembered these things without being reminded. I stared at the blank screen until rain dotted the glass. 34 years old. Senior structural engineer. Lead designer on 3 hospital projects, 2 public school renovations, and a waterfront resilience plan the mayor had praised on local news. A woman trusted with load-bearing calculations for buildings full of patients and children, and still foolish enough to hope my family might remember the day I was born. By the time I reached my condo in South Boston, the rain had turned steady and cold. I unlocked the door, dropped my leather work bag by the console table, and stood in the quiet. My condo looked exactly the way it always did. Cream sofa, walnut coffee table, framed print of the Maine coast above the fireplace. 1 fiddle leaf fig, surviving through discipline rather than love. Tasteful, expensive, still somehow empty. On the coffee table sat a small white bakery box. Inside was the cupcake I had bought myself that morning, lemon with raspberry filling. My favorite. I had bought it at 7:30 a.m. because some humiliating instinct had whispered that even if nobody else remembered, I should not let the day pass completely unmarked. I took off my heels, found 1 candle in the junk drawer, and stuck it into the frosting. The flame trembled when I lit it. "Happy birthday, Claire," I whispered. The words sounded pathetic in the empty room. Then my phone lit up. "Mom." For 1 stupid second, my heart moved before my brain could stop it. I answered too quickly. "Hi, Mom." "Claire, thank God you picked up." My mother's voice was bright, breathless, and busy. I could hear laughter behind her, glasses clinking, music, a room full of people. My fingers tightened around the phone. "Is everything okay?" "Oh, everything is wonderful. I only have a second. Your brother's toast is about to start, but I need to ask you something." My brother's toast. A small pause. Too small for innocence. Oh, honey. Patrick closed on that commercial development deal. You know, the Seaport project. Your father put together a little celebration at the club. I looked at the candle melting into my cupcake. Tonight. Yes, tonight. It came together so fast. You know how these things are. I did know how these things were. For Patrick, things always came together. For Patrick, schedules cleared. Cakes appeared. Champagne chilled. Relatives drove in from 3 towns away. My father wrote speeches. My mother cried beautiful tears into linen napkins. For me, things slipped minds. Anyway, Mom continued, we're doing a family brunch for him on Sunday too, and I was hoping you could handle the invitations. Maybe one of those digital designs you're good at. Something classy. Not too flashy. I did not answer. Claire, today was my birthday. The background noise sharpened. A man laughed. Someone clapped. Then I heard my father's voice, unmistakable and proud. That's my boy. My mother inhaled softly. Oh, 1 syllable. Not horror, not shame, not grief, just inconvenience. Oh, Claire, sweetheart. With Patrick's news, it completely slipped my mind. Like my 9th birthday when my parents left my party early because Patrick's Little League team made the finals. Like my 13th when my father gave Patrick golf clubs just because and told me my birthday gift was coming late because he had been busy. Like my 18th when they spent the weekend touring Yale with Patrick while my MIT acceptance letter sat unopened on the kitchen counter. Like my college graduation dinner when Patrick announced he was leaving law school to go into commercial real estate, and suddenly my degree in structural engineering became background noise to his bravery. Like my 30th when my mother texted at 11:58 p.m. Happy birthday, honey. Crazy day. Love you. Crazy day. 2 words covering a lifetime of absence. Claire, my mother said, lowering her voice. Please don't be upset. We'll do something next week. We always do something next week. Don't start tonight. This is a big night for your brother. There it was. The Donovan family anthem. This is a big night for your brother. Your brother needs us. Your brother worked so hard. Your brother carries the family name. Your brother. Your brother, your brother. I stared at the candle. Wax slid down into the frosting like a tear. Enjoy the party, Mom. Wait, can you still do the invitation? I'll text the details. I hung up. For a long time, I sat on the floor listening to rain tap against the windows. Then, because apparently I had not hurt myself enough, I opened Instagram. The first photo stopped me cold. Patrick stood beneath gold balloons, spelling out, "Congratulations, Patrick." He wore a navy suit and the smile of a man who had never once wondered whether a room would be proud of him. His wife Caroline sparkled beside him in diamonds. My mother pressed one hand to her heart. My father stood with his arm around Patrick's shoulders, beaming like he had personally invented success. The caption was my father's. No one deserves this more than our son. The Donovan legacy continues. I scrolled. Aunt Maureen raising champagne. Cousin Aaron laughing beside a dessert table. Father Callahan from St. Bridget's shaking Patrick's hand. A sheet cake big enough for 50 people. A framed sign near this bar that read, "To Patrick's next chapter." The timestamp said 4 hours ago. My birthday. They did not forget because they were busy. They forgot because I was not the person being celebrated. My laptop chimed from the coffee table. I opened it mechanically, expecting another work email. Subject: performance bonus confirmation. Dear Claire, on behalf of Whitmore and Vale's executive board, we are pleased to confirm a performance bonus in recognition of your exceptional leadership on the Northbridge medical expansion and your continued impact on client trust and firm revenue. Bonus amount $96,000. I stared at the number. $96,000. More money than I had ever received at one time. Money earned through late nights, cold site visits, steel calculations, emergency revisions, and the kind of pressure my family dismissed as your little building job. My phone buzzed again. A text from my mother. Can you make the brunch invitation say, "Celebrating Patrick's"? Next chapter. Also include dress code country club casual. Something inside me shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, more like a lock turning after years of rust. I blew out the candle without making a wish. 4 days later, my mother accidentally added me to the wrong group chat. It happened at 6:18 on Saturday morning while I stood in line at Flower Bakery waiting for coffee. The chat name was Donovan Family Planning. At first I thought it was about Patrick's brunch. Another request disguised as inclusion. Then I read the messages. Dad, Claire should contribute substantially. She just received a major bonus. At least $25,000. Aunt Maureen, that seems fair. Patrick and Caroline have the anniversary party coming up, and his new project will reflect well on the whole family. Mom, I agree. Claire has no husband and no children. She can afford to support the family for once. My coffee order was called, but I did not move. Cousin Erin, will she be upset? Dad. She's always emotional at first. Eileen can handle her. Mom. I'll tell Claire it's about family unity. Claire. No E. My own mother had forgotten the last letter of my name. The barista called again. Claire. I almost laughed. At least somebody remembered. I took my coffee outside with hands that did not feel like mine. The messages kept coming. Dad. Do not mention the amount in writing again. We'll discuss at dinner. Aunt Maureen. She should want to help. Patrick's success helps everyone. Mom, exactly. She needs to understand that being part of a family means sacrifice. Sacrifice. The word tasted bitter even though I had not said it out loud. My phone rang. Patrick. I let it ring twice. Then I answered. Hey, Claire Bear, he said, using the nickname he only remembered when he wanted something. What do you want? A pause. Wow. Good morning to you too. I'm busy. I'll be quick. Heard from Mom you got a nice bonus. Congrats, by the way. The congratulations landed flat like a coin dropped into an empty cup. Thanks. Listen, I'm putting together a dinner next week with a few investors. One of them is connected to Northbridge Medical. I figured you could introduce me to someone on the board. Number. Silence. No. Number. It's just an introduction. It's a client relationship, Patrick. Not a party favor. He exhaled sharply. This is exactly what Dad means when he says you don't understand family. Funny, I said. I was just reading about how this family works. What does that mean? It means Mom should check who she adds to group chats. The silence that followed was the first honest thing he had given me all week. Claire, enjoy your brunch. I hung up. By Monday morning, my family had moved from manipulation to full campaign mode. My mother called at 7:12, then 7:18, then 7:23. I let every call go to voicemail while I stood at my bathroom mirror applying mascara. Voicemail 1, Claire sweetheart. There's been a misunderstanding about the group chat. Voicemail 2. Nobody is demanding anything. We were just discussing what would be appropriate. Voicemail 3. Your father is very hurt that you're treating us like strangers. By the time I reached the office, I had 6 missed calls and 1 text from my father. We need to speak. This childishness is beneath you. At 10:30, my best friend Tessa leaned into my office without knocking. Tessa Walker was our firm's most terrifying project manager, which meant she could make contractors, vendors, and senior partners apologize without raising her voice. She wore a red blazer that morning and carried 2 coffees like ammunition. Your dad is in reception, she said. My stomach dropped. What? Tall man, expensive coat, face like a disappointed bald eagle. That's him. He told the receptionist he's here on family business. For the record, that phrase should be illegal. I stood too fast and hit my knee on the desk. Tessa stepped aside. Want me nearby? Number. Yes, she said. I'll be nearby. My father stood beneath the firm's awards wall, looking deeply unimpressed by all of it. Frank Donovan had never entered a room quietly in his life. Even retired, he carried himself like every space was a courtroom, and he had already won. Claire, he said. Dad. This is my workplace. Then perhaps you should conduct your personal life in a way that doesn't require me to come here. The receptionist suddenly found her keyboard fascinating. I led him into a small glass conference room and closed the door. What are you doing? He removed his gloves 1 finger at a time. Your mother has been crying for 3 days. Because I won't hand Patrick $25,000. Because you turned a simple family conversation into an attack. It was a group chat about my money that I wasn't supposed to see. His jaw tightened. Nobody forced you to accept that bonus. I stared at him. The sentence was so absurd it took a moment to understand.
You're right, I said slowly. I earned it.
His face flickered, irritated by the distinction. Patrick's work benefits this family. His projects, his connections, his position. When he rises, the Donovan name rises with him. And when I succeed, you do well for yourself. Nobody denies that. Nobody denies that. Not praise, not pride. A reluctant admission that my existence had become too obvious to ignore. My bonus is not family property. Don't be dramatic. I'm being precise. You taught me that. His eyes sharpened. Do not use my words against me. Then stop giving me reasons to. For the first time, my father looked surprised. The old Claire would have softened then. Explained. Smoothed the air. Made her anger smaller so his could take up the room. I did not. He leaned forward, palms flat on the conference table. You will come to brunch on Sunday. You will apologize to your mother. And you will contribute something meaningful to your brother's celebration. Number. The word landed between us. Small. Plain. Immovable. I beg your pardon. No. I won't apologize for reading words you wrote. I won't give Patrick my bonus. And I won't attend a brunch celebrating him 4 days after you forgot my birthday. For God's sake, Claire, it was one birthday. I laughed before I could stop myself. Not because it was funny. Because if I did not laugh, I might break something. One birthday, I repeated. Try 25 years of them. He waved a hand. You have always kept score. No. I started keeping score because you kept pretending there wasn't a game. The room went silent. Through the glass wall, I saw Tessa hovering by the printer, badly pretending to sort paper. My father followed my gaze and lowered his voice. You are embarrassing yourself. No, I said. I'm finally embarrassing the right people. His face darkened. He left without saying goodbye. 3 hours later, I stood in the largest conference room on the 22nd floor, presenting a revised construction plan to Northbridge Medical's executive board. My father's words were still under my skin, but my voice did not shake once. I explained steel bracing, emergency access cost recovery, phased construction patient safety, and the revised load calculations that would keep the expansion alive. When I finished, the room was quiet. Then the Northbridge COO stood and shook my hand. Ms. Donovan. She said you just saved us millions. Afterward, Malcolm Vale stopped me outside the conference room. That is why we fought for your bonus, he said. That is why you're being promoted next quarter. You are one of the best engineers this firm has. Praise always made me uncomfortable. Not because I disliked it, because some part of me had learned early that praise was unstable. A thing people took back when someone more important entered the room. But this time I let myself feel it. That evening I did not go home. I took the red line to Cambridge and walked to Mrs. Alvarez's apartment. She opened the door before I knocked twice. Mi niña, she said, narrowing her eyes at my face. Come in. I made arroz con pollo, and you look like someone raised you around people who do not feed the soul. Mrs. Alvarez was 78, a retired school librarian, and the closest thing I had to a grandmother since Nana Donovan died when I was 19. We met 6 years earlier when she knocked on my door to ask if I owned a ladder. I did not. She decided that was a character flaw and adopted me immediately. Her apartment smelled like garlic cumin, old books, and lemon furniture polish. I sat at her kitchen table while she put food in front of me without asking. Tell me, she said. So I did. I told her about my birthday, Patrick's party, the group chat, the misspelled name, my father at my office, the $25,000. Mrs. Alvarez listened without interrupting. When I finished, she covered my hand with hers. Some families do not forget, she said. They assign roles. One child is the son. One child is the furniture. I looked down at my plate. And furniture, she continued, is only noticed when someone wants to sit down. My eyes burned. I don't know how to stop wanting them to love me. You do not have to stop wanting love, she said gently. You have to stop accepting crumbs and calling it dinner. That night I went home and opened my laptop. For once I did not open work email. I searched Coastal Homes Maine under 500,000. I do not know why Maine. Maybe because of the framed print above my fireplace. Maybe because every summer of my childhood when Patrick went to baseball camps, golf clinics, and leadership retreats, I stayed with Nana in a tiny rental near Boothbay Harbor. She taught me to eat lobster rolls without shame and told me the ocean was the only thing big enough to hold every feeling at once. Listings filled my screen. Condos, cabins, fixer-uppers, overpriced cottages with staged furniture and suspiciously creative photography. Then I saw it. A blue-gray cottage in Harpswell, tucked along a rocky inlet, with weathered cedar shingles, white trim, and a narrow deck facing the water. 3 bedrooms, stone fireplace, pine floors, private stairs down to the shore. Price $419,000. My sensible brain started calculating immediately. Down payment, mortgage, taxes, insurance, repairs, commute, Utilities. My heart said one thing: mine. 2 days later, I stood on that cottage deck in a wool coat and boots, watching the Atlantic move against black rocks below. The realtor Jill told me the house was built in 1948 by a shipyard foreman. It needs work, she said. Kitchen's dated. Deck is solid but old. Roof has maybe 7 years left. I nodded as if I was listening, but I was watching the water. Gray-blue, restless, honest. Inside sunlight slanted across scratched pine floors. The living room smelled faintly of salt and old smoke from the fireplace. One bedroom had faded wallpaper curling near the window. Another had a built-in bookshelf running the length of the wall. I imagined my engineering books there, my framed awards, a bed with linen sheets, a dining table where nobody asked why Patrick was not there. "Do you want some time to think?" Jill asked. "Yes," I said. Then, after one breath, "No. I want to make an offer." The process was not romantic after that. Mortgage paperwork, inspection reports, bank statements, insurance quotes, emails with subject lines like "action required" and "final disclosure." My mother called daily. I answered none of them. Patrick texted once, "You're taking this too far." I deleted it. My father sent one email. Subject: family expectations. I did not open it. 3 weeks after my birthday, I signed closing documents in a small office in Brunswick while rain tapped against the windows. Mrs. Alvarez came with me. She wore her good navy coat and brought a thermos of coffee because she said life-changing decisions should never be made under-caffeinated. When the attorney slid the keys across the table, my hands trembled. Mrs. Alvarez squeezed my knee under the table. "You are not stealing anything," she whispered. "You are returning yourself to yourself." I drove to the cottage alone afterward. By the time I pulled into the gravel driveway, the sky had cleared. The house looked smaller without the realtor's car in front of it. Quieter, almost shy. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. No one had ever thrown me a surprise party. No one had ever gathered relatives under balloons with my name on them. No one had ever lifted a glass and said, "To Claire." So I stood in the empty living room and said it myself. "To Claire." The words echoed softly against bare walls. I spent the first weekend cleaning. Real cleaning. Scrubbing cabinets. Pulling old contact paper from drawers. Dragging a stained rug to the curb. Filling contractor bags with the previous owner's forgotten curtain rods, cracked bins, and a ceramic goose wearing a ribbon. By Sunday afternoon, my shoulders ached and my knees were bruised, but the house smelled like lemon soap and possibility. I assembled 2 Adirondack chairs on the deck, swearing loudly enough to startle a gull. I painted the smallest bedroom a soft green and made it my office. On the door, I hung a brass plaque from an antique store. Claire's room. It was childish. I did not care. The following Friday, Tessa drove up after work with takeout wine and a cordless drill because she claimed every emotional emergency required tools. At sunrise, she took a photo of me on the deck. I was barefoot in jeans and an oversized sweater holding a mug of coffee, while the inlet turned silver behind me. She posted it before I could stop her. Some women wait for flowers. Some buy themselves the whole coastline. Proud of you, see? I stared at the post. Then I posted my own, a simple photo of the cottage from the shore, blue-gray against a pink evening sky. Caption: birthday gift to myself. I turned off my phone and painted the hallway. When I turned it back on 2 hours later, chaos had arrived. Mom Claire called me immediately. "Dad." "What is this?" "Patrick. You bought a house. Aunt Maureen, honey. Are you okay? This seems sudden." "Cousin Aaron. People are saying you moved to Maine." "Mom. Why would you post that without telling us first?" "Dad. This makes the family look ridiculous." There it was. Not congratulations. Not is it beautiful. Not I'm proud of you. This makes the family look ridiculous. By evening, the gossip network had activated. Aunt Maureen posted on Facebook. Some people mistake independence for cruelty. Family should always come first. My mother left a voicemail crying about how people at church were asking whether there had been a family rupture. My father texted, "You will remove that post." Patrick texted, "You made Mom cry in front of Caroline's parents." Then at 9:12 p.m., my father called from my mother's phone. I answered because some part of me wanted to hear what he would say when he could not hide behind text. "Claire Elizabeth Donovan," he began. Full name, courtroom voice. "This ends now." I sat on the deck with a glass of wine and watched the tide move under the moon. What ends? This public performance. The house, the post, the humiliation. You will come to dinner Sunday. Just family. We will decide how to explain this. How to explain what? Your behavior. My behavior is that I bought property with money I earned. You made a major life decision without consulting your family. I'm 34. You are acting like a teenager. No, a teenager would still be asking permission. Silence. Then my mother's voice faint in the background. Frank, don't yell. My father lowered his voice. Your mother is heartbroken. She remembered that I have a heart. The words came out before I could stop them. My father inhaled sharply. You have become bitter. No, Dad. I have become accurate. He hung up. The next morning, I opened a new spreadsheet. Not for work, for evidence. At first, I told myself it was for therapy. A way to organize memories. A way to stop gaslighting myself. But as the columns grew, I realized the truth. For 34 years, my family had controlled the story because they controlled the room. They could say I exaggerated. They could say I was sensitive. They could say it was only one birthday. But numbers do not cry. Photos do not misremember. Screenshots do not get emotional. I created 3 binders. The first binder was titled Patrick's Celebrations, Birthday Parties, Graduation Dinners, New Car Photos, Country Club Events, Vacation Posts, Toasts, Speeches, my father's captions, my mother's comments. Patrick at 16 with a BMW wrapped in a red bow. Patrick at 21 with a gold watch. Patrick at 25, surprise dinner for his first real estate deal. Patrick at 30 surrounded by cousins under a banner that said Donovan Legacy. The second binder was titled Claire's Missing Years. It was thinner, painfully thinner. My 9th birthday party invitation with a note from my neighbor's mother. So sorry your parents had to leave early. A photo of me at 13 beside a grocery store cake, the TV behind me showing Patrick's baseball game. My MIT acceptance letter. No family photo. My college graduation program. No dinner receipt. A birthday card from Nana. For our Claire, who notices everything. A photo from my 30th birthday. Me in my apartment with Mrs. Alvarez holding a cupcake. The third binder was titled The Money Trail. Tuition payments. Car down payments. Wedding contributions. Vacation costs. Gifts. Anniversary parties. Checks from my parents to Patrick. Emails where my mother said things like, Patrick needs support right now, and Claire understands. My column was short. Patrick's column ran for pages. At the bottom, I added the latest entry. Requested from Claire for Patrick's anniversary celebration, $25,000. I printed the group chat, including the misspelled name, Claire. Then I waited. Sunday evening, the Donovan house looked perfect. It always had. White clapboard. Black shutters. American flag by the porch. Hydrangeas trimmed into obedience. Candles glowing in the front windows even though it was not a holiday. From the outside, it looked like the kind of house where children were treasured. Inside, my mother had set the dining room table with the good china. Of course she had. Good china meant serious conversation disguised as civility. My father stood by the bar cart with bourbon in his hand. My mother hovered near the kitchen doorway wearing pearls and the expression of a woman prepared to be wounded in public. Patrick and Caroline sat side by side like defendants who had been promised a favorable verdict. Aunt Maureen was there too. So was Cousin Aaron. And to my surprise, Father Callahan from St. Bridget's holding a cup of coffee and looking deeply uncomfortable. I nearly laughed. You invited a priest, I asked. My mother flushed. Father Callahan is a family friend. My father's mouth tightened. We thought a calm presence might be helpful. You thought an audience would make me behave. No one answered. I placed the 3 binders on the sideboard. Patrick stared at them. What are those? Receipts. My mother blinked. For what? For the story you keep telling about me. Dinner began like a performance. My father asked Patrick about zoning. My mother asked Caroline about the anniversary venue. Aunt Maureen talked about how family conflict was so painful for everyone. Nobody asked about my cottage. Nobody asked about my work. Nobody said happy belated birthday. Finally, my father set down his fork. Enough, he said. Claire, this main situation has gotten out of hand. The house is in Harpswell. I do not care if it is on the moon. You embarrassed this family. I leaned back. How? You made people think we neglected you. The room went still. Not because he had said something shocking. Because he had accidentally said the quiet part. I looked at my mother. Is that what bothers you? That people might think you neglected me? Or that you did? Her eyes filled. Claire, please. No tears until I finish. The table froze. My father slammed his hand down.
You will not speak to your mother like that.
I will speak without being interrupted by guilt. Patrick muttered, Jesus. I turned to him. And you do not get to act exhausted by a conversation you never had to survive. He looked away first. That felt better than it should have. My father's voice lowered. You will remove the post. You will tell people we knew about the cottage and supported it. You will apologize to your mother. And you will contribute to Patrick and Caroline's anniversary party because family does not vanish the moment feelings get hurt. I stood. Number. My mother gasped softly. My father stared at me as though the word had arrived in a foreign language. No, I repeated. I will not lie to protect your image. I will not apologize for buying myself a birthday gift. And I will not give Patrick $25,000. Patrick shifted. It wasn't like that. I walked to the sideboard and picked up the first binder. Let's find out. I laid Patrick's celebrations in the center of the table and opened it. Page 1. Patrick's 5th birthday. Pony rides in the backyard. Page 2. Patrick's 8th birthday. Magician. Bounce house. Custom cake shaped like Fenway Park. Page 3. Patrick's 16th. BMW with a red bow. Dad handing him the keys. My father's jaw tightened. Claire, what is the point of this? The point is memory. I flipped faster. Patrick's high school graduation dinner at the country club. Patrick's Boston College acceptance party. Patrick's 21st birthday trip to Miami. Patrick's engagement party. Patrick's first development deal celebration. Patrick's 30th birthday with 50 guests and a live jazz trio. I looked at Aunt Maureen. You were at almost all of these. She lowered her eyes. Then I placed the second binder on the table. Claire's missing years. The room seemed to contract. My mother reached for it, but I put my hand on top. No, I opened this one. Page 1. A photo of me at 9 standing beside a half-melted cake. In the background, an empty living room. My parents left my birthday party early because Patrick's Little League team made the finals. Patrick flinched. Page 2. My 13th birthday. Grocery store cake. TV behind me. That same day, Dad bought Patrick golf clubs. He said my gift was coming late. My father's face reddened. You're twisting things. I turned the page. My MIT acceptance letter. Accepted to MIT. No dinner. No announcement. Mom put the letter in a drawer because Patrick had a Yale tour that weekend. My mother covered her mouth. Page 4. My college graduation program. Mom and Dad left early because Patrick was announcing his career change at dinner. Caroline looked at Patrick. You never told me that. Patrick whispered I didn't know. You didn't have to know, I said. That was the point. I turned another page. A photo of my 30th birthday. Me and Mrs. Alvarez at my apartment. One candle. No family. My mother texted at 11:58 p.m. Crazy day. My mother began to cry silently. This time I let her. Then I opened the third binder. The money trail. My father stood abruptly. We are not doing this. Yes, I said. We are. He looked at Father Callahan as if expecting rescue. The priest stared into his coffee. I slid the first spreadsheet across the table. Patrick's college tuition contribution from Mom and Dad. Patrick's first apartment deposit. Patrick's car down payment. Patrick's wedding contribution. Patrick's business bridge loan. Patrick's anniversary trip gift. I slid the second spreadsheet beside it. My column. The difference was brutal. Thousands for me. Hundreds of thousands for Patrick. Aunt Maureen whispered, "Oh my God." My father pointed at the paper. These numbers lack context. Then give us context. Silence. I pulled out the printed group chat. And here is the latest context. I read aloud. Claire should contribute substantially. She just received a major bonus. At least $25,000. My father's face hardened. I continued. Claire has no husband and no children. She can afford to support the family for once. My mother sobbed. I looked at her. You could not remember my birthday, but you remembered my bonus. No one moved. Then I read the final line. I'll tell Claire it's about family unity. I placed the page down. My own mother could not even spell my name. That broke something. Not in me. In the room, Caroline pushed back from the table. Patrick, she said quietly. Did you know about this? He did not answer. That was answer enough. My father's fist hit the table. Enough. This is a disgusting display of ingratitude. I looked at him. What should I be grateful for? His face went crimson. For everything we gave you. What did you give me that did not come with the expectation that I stay quiet? He pointed at Patrick. Your brother is carrying the Donovan name. He has responsibilities you never had. Of course he came first. The sentence landed like a gunshot. Even my mother stopped crying. Patrick looked at our father as if seeing him clearly for the first time. "Dad," he said. My father realized too late what he had said. I smiled, not because I was happy, because the truth had finally walked into the room without me dragging it. "Thank you," I said. My father blinked. For what? For saying it out loud. I gathered my purse. My mother stood. "Claire, wait." I looked at her. For 34 years, I waited. I waited for birthdays, for apologies, for you to look up when I entered a room, for Dad to say he was proud of me without comparing me to Patrick, for someone to notice that I was not difficult. I was lonely. Her face crumpled. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I wanted those words so badly that they hurt. But wanting an apology does not mean accepting the first one thrown from a burning building. "Not yet," I said. Patrick stood too. "Claire!" I turned to him. He looked wrecked. I didn't know it was this bad. "No," I said. "You didn't need to." He lowered his eyes. I left the binders on the table. "The receipts are yours to keep." Then I walked out of the Donovan house. Nobody followed. For once, nobody had instructions left to give me. The next morning, the family story changed. Not because they became better overnight, because Caroline posted something. I never expected Caroline to be the one to light the match. But at 8:06 a.m., she posted a photo of the Donovan dining room table. The binders were open. The caption read, "Sometimes the person called dramatic is just the person who kept records." No names, no accusations. But everyone knew. By noon, Aunt Maureen deleted her vague Facebook post. By 2, Cousin Aaron texted me, "I'm sorry, I should have noticed." By 5, Father Callahan left my mother a voicemail saying reconciliation without confession was not reconciliation. Tessa printed that sentence and taped it to my office door. Patrick did not contact me for 3 weeks. My mother called every morning for 4 days, then stopped. That was how I knew someone had finally told her love was not a voicemail campaign. My father sent one email. Subject disappointed. I deleted it unopened. Life did not become magically easy. Boundaries I learned do not feel like freedom at first. They feel like grief wearing armor. Some mornings I still reached for my phone expecting guilt. Some nights I sat on the cottage deck listening to waves and cried for the girl who had waited beside too many unlit candles. But slowly the house filled. A real mattress, a second-hand farmhouse table, books on the office shelf, project awards in frames, a blue quilt from Mrs. Alvarez, a photo of Nana by the kitchen window. The brass plaque on my office door stayed. Claire's room. In December, I hosted my first holiday dinner. Not Christmas. I was not ready for Christmas. I called it Almost Christmas No Obligations. Tessa came with her wife, Naomi, and ornaments shaped like tiny power tools. Malcolm came with his husband and a bottle of scotch older than some interns. Mrs. Alvarez arrived wrapped in a red scarf, carrying flan and 3 opinions about my kitchen knives. We ate roast chicken and mashed potatoes at the farmhouse table. We drank too much wine. We played a board game Tessa cheated at badly. Someone put on Ella Fitzgerald. At some point, Mrs. Alvarez hung a tiny ornament on the plaque outside my office. "Now the room is blessed," she said. I posted one photo. First holiday in my own home. Full table, full heart. My mother liked it, then unliked it, then liked it again. I pretended not to notice. In February, Patrick came to my office. Tessa spotted him first. "Golden boy at 12 o'clock, she said from my doorway. I looked past her. Patrick stood near the elevator in a charcoal suit, holding 2 coffees like a peace offering or a shield. "Do you want me to tell him you're in a meeting?" Tessa asked. I considered it. "No, I'll handle it." Patrick looked older than he had at the family dinner. Tired around the eyes. Less polished. "Can we talk?" he asked. "If this is about money, no. It's not." I led him into the same small conference room where my father had tried to command my bonus out of my hands. Patrick noticed. "Dad came here, didn't he?" "Yes." "I'm sorry." The words arrived so unexpectedly that I did not know where to put them. He set one coffee in front of me. Oat milk latte. Extra hot. I looked at it. "You remembered?" His face tightened. "I remember things, Claire. I just didn't always act like they mattered." Careful, I told myself. Hope is not evidence. "What do you want, Patrick?" He sat. Caroline and I separated. Whatever I expected, it was not that. "I'm sorry." He nodded. She said being married to me felt like being married to a parade float. Everyone clapping. Everyone watching. No room for anything real underneath. Despite myself, I almost smiled. That sounds like Caroline. Yeah. He rubbed his hands over his face. Then she asked me if I ever noticed what happened to people who weren't standing on the float. The room went quiet. I started therapy, he said. My therapist used the phrase golden child. I hated it so much I almost walked out. And did you? No. He looked down. I went home and opened the binders. My throat tightened. I didn't make those for you. I know. They were not an educational assignment. I know that too. He swallowed. But I read them. All of them. Then I looked through old photo boxes at Mom and Dad's house. He pushed something across the table, a small white frame. Inside was a photo I had never seen before. Me at 6 years old on a rocky beach, crouched beside a tide pool, hair whipping across my face, laughing at something outside the frame. Behind me, Nana sat on a striped towel, watching me with the softest expression. I touched the edge of the frame. Nana took this. Yeah, found it in one of her boxes. There were more, not many, but some. Proof. Not that I existed. I had finally stopped needing proof of that. Proof that someone had looked. Patrick's voice cracked. I am sorry I let them build my life out of rooms you were not invited into. The apology was imperfect. Late. Too small for the years it could not return. But it asked nothing from me. That mattered. I'm glad you're in therapy, I said. He nodded. Mom wants to see you. Mom wants a lot of things. She's different. Different how? She says your name correctly now. I laughed, but it hurt. That is a low bar. I know. When he left, he did not ask for anything. No introduction. No money. No emotional absolution. That mattered more than the coffee. In June, my mother sent an email. Subject, when you are ready. I almost deleted it. Instead, I read it at the cottage kitchen table while rain tapped against the windows. Claire, I have written this several times and deleted it because everything I say sounds too small. You were right. I did not forget your birthday once. I forgot many birthdays. I forgot because I allowed myself to believe you needed less. Patrick was louder. Your father identified with him. I followed that current because it was easier than fighting it. You were capable, responsible, quiet. I used your strength as permission to neglect you. That was not love. That was failure. I am sorry. I know one email does not repair 34 years. I know apologies I have made before were really requests for you to stop being hurt. I am trying not to do that now. Your birthday is September 14th. I know that should not sound like something a mother needs to write down, but I have written it in my calendar on the kitchen board and in my prayer book. If you are willing, I would like to see you. Anywhere you choose. Anytime you choose. If you are not willing, I will respect that. Love, Mom. I read it once, then again. Then I walked outside into the rain. The tide was low. The rocks were dark and slick. The air smelled like salt and pine and wet earth. An apology I had learned was not a bridge. It was a plank. Maybe the first one, maybe rotten, maybe real. I did not answer that day, or the next. 3 months later, on the morning of my 35th birthday, I woke before sunrise in the cottage. For the first time in my life, I had planned my own birthday without shame. There would be brunch on the deck, lobster rolls from the market in town, blueberry pie, lemon cake, because I still loved lemon cake, even if my family had once forgotten that too. Tessa and Naomi were driving up from Boston. Malcolm and his husband were coming after lunch. Mrs. Alvarez was already asleep in the guest room because she insisted on arriving the night before to supervise my reckless folding of napkins. At 7:03 a.m., my phone buzzed. Patrick. Happy birthday, Claire. No excuses this year. I'm proud of you. Thank you for letting me learn late, even though you never owed me the lesson. I sat with that for a long moment. Then another message. Mom. Happy birthday, my beautiful Claire. I hope your day is peaceful and full of people who know how lucky they are to love you. No request. No guilt. No mention of the family image. Just the sentence. I pressed the phone against my chest and let myself cry for exactly 90 seconds. Because guests were arriving at 11 and Mrs. Alvarez would scold me if my eyes got puffy before photos. By noon, the cottage was full of noise. Real noise. Tessa argued with Malcolm about whether lobster rolls needed butter or mayo. Naomi arranged flowers in mason jars. Mrs. Alvarez told everyone my kitchen knives were shameful, and somebody should buy me better ones. Priya, a young engineer from work, arrived with a plant and a card that said, "Thank you for showing me women can build things and boundaries." I pinned it to the refrigerator. The deck glowed under a clear September sky. The ocean was blue enough to look invented. Someone opened champagne. Someone handed me a paper crown as a joke, and for once I wore it. At 1:15, a car pulled into the gravel driveway. I knew my mother's old Volvo before I saw it. The conversation softened. Tessa looked at me. "Want me to answer the door?" I shook my head. "I've got it." My mother stood on this porch holding a bakery box with both hands. She looked smaller here than she ever did in the Wellesley house. Without the dining room, the china, the family portraits, and the performance of motherhood arranged around her like furniture. She was just a woman in a cream sweater with nervous eyes. "Hi," she said. "Hi, Mom." She swallowed. "I know you said I could come at 1 and I'm 15 minutes late. There was traffic near Bath, but that is not an excuse. I should have left earlier." It was such a careful correction that I almost smiled. "You're here." "I am." She held out the box. "I brought lemon cake from the bakery near your office. Tessa told me that was the right one." I wanted to make it myself, but Patrick said making this about my effort might be missing the point. That did make me smile. Patrick said that he has become very annoying in therapy. For a second, the air between us loosened. Then her eyes filled. "I'm not going to cry to make you comfort me," she said quickly. I practiced that sentence. I looked at her, at the lines around her mouth, the trembling hands, the woman who had hurt me and the mother I had wanted, and the imperfect human being standing between those two things. "You can come in," I said. "But if this gets overwhelming, I may ask for space." She nodded. "Okay. And Dad." Her face changed. "Your father is not ready to admit anything he cannot control." It was the most honest thing she had ever said about him. "Then he is not welcome here yet." I know. No argument. No plea. Just acceptance. I stepped aside. My mother entered my house. Not the family house. Not Patrick's celebration. Not a room where I was expected to shrink. My house. The party resumed gradually. My mother stayed near the edges, at first speaking softly to Mrs. Alvarez, who watched her with the protective suspicion of a church auntie and a federal prosecutor combined. Tessa was polite but not warm. Malcolm shook my mother's hand and said, "Claire is one of the finest engineers I've ever worked with," in a tone that made it sound like a warning. My mother looked at me afterward. "I didn't know," she said quietly. "Yes, you did." She flinched. I did not soften it. "You didn't want to know." After a moment, she nodded. "You're right. 2 words. Not enough, but something." Later, after cake, champagne, and too many photos, I stood at the edge of the deck with my mother beside me. The ocean moved below us, steady and indifferent. "I used to think," she said, "that because you were quiet, you didn't need as much. I needed more because I was quiet. I know that now. Knowing now doesn't erase then." "No," she whispered. "It doesn't." Inside, people were laughing. Someone had started washing dishes even though I told them not to. Mrs. Alvarez was probably reorganizing my cabinets. Tessa was definitely stealing leftover lobster. My life full and loud, and mine continued without waiting for this moment to become perfect. My mother reached into her purse. "I brought something else." She handed me an envelope. I tensed. She saw it. "It's not money. It's not a request." Inside was a birthday card. On the front, a watercolor of the ocean. Inside, in my mother's handwriting, "Claire, I am sorry for every year I made you feel like loving you could wait. It should never have waited. Happy birthday, Mom." Below it was a printed photo. Me at 8 years old, sitting at Nana's kitchen table with flour on my nose, grinning at a lopsided cake. My mother was in the background, younger than I am now, looking at something off camera. Not at me. Nana was looking at me. I turned the photo over. Claire's 8th birthday. Eileen forgot candles. Claire laughed anyway. Nana's handwriting. My breath caught. I remembered it. Not fully, but enough. The kitchen. The smell of vanilla. Nana muttering that mothers who forgot candles should be sentenced to boxed cake mix for life. Me laughing because Nana made forgetting feel like a problem that could be solved, not proof that I was forgettable. My mother whispered, "I'm sorry." This time I believed she was not asking me to take care of her guilt. So I said thank you. That was all I could give. It was enough for today. Patrick arrived late because apparently therapy had made him better but not punctual. He carried a ridiculous bouquet and a small wrapped gift. "Traffic," he said. Mom pointed at him. "Leave earlier." He looked startled. I laughed so hard I had to sit down. After the party, Patrick and I took 2 slices of cake down to the rocks. We sat above the tide, eating with paper napkins balanced on our knees, while the last light turned the water copper. "Dad asked about you," Patrick said. "I'm sure he did." He said you're being influenced by people who don't understand family. I snorted. That sounds like Dad. I told him maybe the people who understand family best are the ones who don't use it as a weapon. I looked at him. He kept his eyes on the water. Wow. I know. Very emotionally evolved. Caroline says I'm insufferable now. How is Caroline? Cautious. He smiled a little. We're talking. Slowly. Good. He handed me the wrapped gift. Inside was a framed blueprint, not of a skyscraper, not of a hospital wing, of my cottage. He had found the original 1948 floor plan in town records, cleaned it up, and printed it on archival paper. In the lower corner, where the architect's stamp would usually be, he had added one line, "For Claire, who builds what lasts." My throat closed. I know a gift doesn't fix anything, he said. No, I said. It doesn't. But I looked at the blueprint, at the clean lines of the house that had held me through the hardest year of my life. But it can still matter. His shoulders lowered. That night, after everyone left, after Mrs. Alvarez went to bed, after the dishwasher hummed and the cottage settled around me, I walked through each room, turning off lights. The guest room, where someone who loved me was sleeping. The kitchen, where my mother's lemon cake sat under glass. The living room, where birthday cards lined the mantel. My office, with Claire's room shining on the door. For years, I thought being loved meant finally becoming important enough for my family to notice. Now I know love feels different. It feels like Tessa driving 3 hours with a drill. Like Mrs. Alvarez saving the last piece of flan because she knows I pretend not to want it. Like Priya writing that women can build things and boundaries. Like my brother arriving late but empty-handed of excuses. Like my mother standing in my doorway and accepting the word no. Like a house bought with money I earned filled with people I chose standing solid against weather. I took my phone onto the deck. The stars were sharp above the water. The tide moved in the dark, patient and endless. I posted one photo from the day. Not the cake, not the gifts, not even the ocean. It was a picture Tessa took without telling me. I was standing on the deck in a blue dress and a paper crown, laughing with my head turned toward the people gathered inside my house. Behind me, the windows glowed gold. Caption 35. Finally home. Comments appeared within minutes. Tessa, queen of load-bearing boundaries. Priya, best birthday ever. Patrick. Happy birthday, Claire. Then after a long pause, my mother. You deserve this every year. I read the words twice. They hurt. They healed. Both can be true. I set the phone down and raised my glass toward the dark water, toward the little girl at Nana's table, toward every version of myself that waited beside an unlit candle. I remembered I whispered, and for the first time that was enough.